I was spending a month with my cousins at my grandma's house. It was August, and my cousins' ages ranged from 10 to 15, and I was the oldest. I was staying with a 10, 13, and a 14-year-old. We stayed up telling scary stories often, but one night, a few weeks in, we decided to make a campfire out back. My grandma's house is in a rural suburb. The neighbors aren't too far when you're driving down the road to her house, but in the backyard, it's thick forest with man-made paths through it. Each house is on a hill, so only part of the basement was actually underground. That isn't important until later, though. So we're towards the east side of her yard in a smallish patch of open land. You couldn't see the neighbor's yard from there, and there was probably 3/4 of a mile to each side of us that belonged to my grandma. It was maybe 11 at night, and we were playing Truth or Dare after telling scary stories, and my 14-year-old cousin dared me and my 13-year-old cousin to go walk through the paths for about 10 minutes or so. I said yes right away because I wasn't easily scared and rather level-headed, but my younger cousin was a bit more hesitant. We didn't bring a flashlight because it wasn't pitch dark yet and we could see enough not to die. We were walking around for about 5 minutes and could barely see the fire through the trees when we decided to turn back. In the middle of the path was a large dog-like creature hunched over with its front hands an inch from the ground. What I remember most was how its eyes were so bright white, and it was a humanoid dog shape with a human-like head but a dog body and human hands and feet. It looked right at us, and I know I was paralyzed with fear as it dashed away in the opposite direction from us, towards a creek, and ran through the yard. Eventually, my cousin and I screamed bloody murder. I don't remember much here, because I was really disoriented and I couldn't think properly, but I did wake up in bed, so I assumed that I was brought up to the house. All the kids slept in the basement in a big room with sliding glass doors to the outside, as the room was on the side that wasn't underground. My bed was pressed against the big glass window, and I could see my cousins playing outside down below. The house is in Michigan, so it gets slightly chilly at the end of August, and there was a slight breeze, so I put on a jacket and ran outside to join them, skipping breakfast. When I got down, I could tell they weren't playing, but rather running to get my grandma. Her dogs, both of them, were dead, ripped up. That night we went to bed early. I woke up at maybe 2 in the morning because I felt something hit my head. My cousins were all sitting on the double bed, opposite to me on the other side of the room. There was one bunk bed and 2 double beds. The double beds were for me and my 14-year-old cousin. They were being quiet and staring at me. The 13-year-old nodded his head towards the window. I froze as they all looked afraid. I turned my head slightly to the side and saw a really messed up looking face pressed up to the window with gaping eyes looking down at me. I screamed extremely loud and bolted. My grandma called the police after I told her what had happened, and they found nothing. I went home after that, and I have never been there during the night again. I decided to join my best friend Karen for a 3-day stay at her grandmother's place. Her grandmother lives near a place called Tuba City, Arizona, in the middle of nowhere but surrounded by rural homes. We go to college together, and I was kind of interested to know about the Navajo tradition. The first day we stayed, it was pretty chilly, nothing out of the ordinary, but then her grandma, not that old, probably around 67, said that a stray dog came out of nowhere and wouldn't leave. To me, it did act kind of strange and ugly looking. It was black, it had a shaggy coat, and looked like a mix between a German Shepherd and a lab. That night, we were watching a movie in the living room, which had big windows that looked out into the front where the cars were parked, and the curtains were wide open. Her grandma was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and we were watching a movie. Next to the window is a medium bookshelf and is where the DVDs are kept. Karen went to put back a movie we had just watched, but she freaked out because that stray black dog was staring at us through the window, standing up on top of the wood box outside. Not something that normal dogs do, from my point of view or from hers. Usually my dog, which is a house dog, scratches at the door to be let in. The reservation dogs aren't house dogs, and dogs inside houses are frowned upon in the Navajo tradition. The other dogs seem to stay away from it. Karen opened the door and yelled at it to get off the box, and it ran behind the shed. We went to town to get some groceries and came back to the house. When we did, the dog was nowhere to be seen. Nothing unusual. Her grandma went to visit some people, so it was just Karen and I. About 5 o'clock, we heard something trying to open the door. Both of us looked out the window, since we didn't hear a car or no dogs barking. Looking out the living room window to the door, there was the dog trying to open the door with its paws. 2 paws wrapped around the brass doorknob, standing on its hind legs. I thought that was weird, but wasn't really freaked out, although Karen was. She opened the door and chased it off. Her grandma came back later, and Karen told her. The grandma didn't like what she heard. We slept in the spare bedroom, since it had 2 beds. One of the windows had curtains, which was opened a little. We turned off the light, but there was a sound coming from on top of the roof. It sounded like 2 footsteps and scratching sounds, and then some panning. It then sounded like it jumped onto the large plastic water barrel that they had. At first, we heard what sounded like barking, but as it grew louder, the other dogs seemed to be barking at something else also. But all of a sudden, something was running around the house, barking, but it didn't sound like a dog. The barking sounded human, like a deep male voice barking as if we knew it wasn't a dog. Karen decided to open the curtains to look out, and there was that stray dog on its hind legs, looking into our bedroom, and this time, it had what looked to be 2 black holes in its neck, and the paws were deformed hands with overgrown, somewhat thick and sharp fingernails. Again, both screaming and shutting the curtains closed. Her grandma came running through the door and saw it. The first thing she did was grab ashes from the fireplace and load 3 shells into a shotgun from under her bed, yelling in Navajo about how the thing wasn't welcome there and it needed to get out and go linger somewhere else. They were both pretty traditional, and the next day they called the medicine man to come over and put cedar in. He prayed over everyone with cedar smoke and an eagle feather, blessing the place. He made us eat some bitter herbs and then gave us an arrowhead. Apparently I needed to carry one for protection in a little pouch called a corn pollen. It seems to work pretty well. The medicine man said that the dog was a skinwalker. The body of a stray dog made an illusion so we wouldn't know it wasn't a real dog. He also said that they tend to harm people by using some sort of human bone straw to spit at someone and get human bones into them. Doctors can't detect it, but the medicine man that day pulled a piece of human skull out of her grandma's right shoulder. It was actually pretty big, about 2 inches long and 1 centimeter thick. It was absolutely real because we watched him pull it out of her. So this happened about 12 years ago. My family owns a farm in the heart of an Indian reservation. One winter, I was home for Christmas, taking care of the farm for a while while my parents were away Christmas shopping. As I was home by myself, way late in the night, and I could hear cows freaking out. I knew it had to be the wild dogs that are rampant in the area. So I throw on some boots, grab a shotgun, load up, and head out to the field. This was the perfect scenario for a horror movie. It was cloudy, but there was a full moon, and it was breaking through the clouds just right to light up all the snow. I ran out into the middle of the field, and just in time I see 2 dogs. They were standing up, facing each other, and fighting. I think to myself, I can get 2 for 1, so I pump a shell into the chamber of my 12 gauge, and then it happened. The 2 dogs heard the rack, and they both stopped, looked over at me, and ran away. But they didn't run away like normal dogs. They ran away on their back legs. Immediately I froze, and every ghost story about skinwalkers and all other Native American legends I grew up with flew through my mind. Keep in mind that I'm a white guy, and up until then, these stories were all just boogeyman stories the native kids like to tell to scare us. That night, they became real. I've had a lot of bad experiences in Arizona, most of them near Jerome. I live in a small town somewhere near Chandler and Phoenix, and I never thought I would see anything bad near my house. I remember as a child, I was always seeing things no one else could, like shadows whenever I would glance at the window, or seeing things quickly scurry away when I would peer around. My mom has a habit of going through lazy episodes. I know she works hard to provide for us, but she makes my older sister and me do a lot more things for her than other parents I know do. It would be rare that she would get up from what she was doing and get the things she wanted. She would even ask me to go shopping at the store 2 miles away from our house when I was 12. Anyway, like any other day, she asked me to do a lot of things despite it being Christmas Day, and my sister and me just getting over 2 full weeks of painfully long exams. She asked me to do the laundry, which I was fine with, but I was getting a very weird vibe. I don't like going into the laundry room. It's dark, and there's a very creepy window right next to the washing machine. I've always gotten an extremely bad vibe from that area. In the past, when people knock on our door, I look outside that window. I've seen a lot of people from it, some being nice people and others not so nice. Like the time I looked out through the window to see a man with a gun. No one was home aside from myself and my friend on the phone with me. They were yelling someone's name who I wasn't familiar with. Aside from that, the window was just creepy and off-putting. I walked into the laundry room, seeing the window cracked open, but it was fine. It was only about 45 degrees, and it's Arizona, so cool air always is nice. Wanting to get out of that room as quickly as possible, I opened the dryer and dumped all the clothes into it before running out and almost tripping on a loose hanger on the floor. I ignored it and went on with finishing the job. I scurried back into the laundry room and began to pull clothes out. Being a 14-year-old and only about 5 feet tall, I was not very strong and had a bit of a rough time. If I had been just a bit stronger and quicker, I probably wouldn't have caught a glimpse of that disgusting creature. I dropped the wet sock on the ground, but ignored it and continued pulling clothes out like a crazy woman, trying to pull out teeth, when I caught something out of the corner of my eye. Like I stated before, when I was younger, I would see things very often. I see things occasionally, but I usually always assume it's just me being tired or spacing out. It's kind of like a game whenever I quickly turn my head to look at whatever is there, in which I would only catch quick glances of it. This time it was different. I felt an extremely cold burst of air, which was not normal for this part of Arizona. I turned my head quickly to look at a distorted figure, 2 piercing eyes, and teeth almost like a jagged razor, with a daunting smile covering its sickly mouth. Stunned, I backed away quickly and hit my back hard on the dryer door. I yelped lightly in pain as I ran out of the laundry room and called for my mother as I frantically told her what I saw. She knew of the random things I saw and said I was full of it. I could only describe that monster as a strange animal. It definitely wasn't human. After a bit of research throughout the night, what I found to be the closest to that creature I saw was something called the Skinwalker. I heard of a few people with similar encounters, such as someone in a nearby forest who found a coyote ripped to shreds, with someone in the area who claimed that they saw something that transformed into another coyote. All I know is I'll never go near that window, and I should consider what my mother wants to do and move away from this state for good. I live close to an Indian reservation, just outside of Mesa, Arizona, where there are rumors of skinwalkers. I have a couple native friends who I just recently went camping with around 20 miles outside the valley to a place called Three Poles. This place is considered holy land in their eyes and close to a river. There are numerous stories about this place, such as a flute player that you can hear at night, or the boulder-sized splashes you hear in the river, but the most notable are the stories of the skinwalkers. We arrived at the campsite around 9 o'clock at night. It was already dark, so we started to unpack and make a fire. Once that was done, my native buddies put up the barriers and puffed the smoke of tobacco upon us as a personal barrier. They told me never to go anywhere alone around 3 a.m. because this is when the spirits are most active. Around 2 a.m., the beating of a drum became very clear. This is a sign of a skinwalker, they told me. At around 3 a.m., the smell of wet dog became apparent. This is a sign of either two things: Hoofy, an extremely evil spirit, or the skinwalkers. The fire grew small, and we could see the shadow of animals. We all decided to move to another site in the morning. As first light dawned, we packed up. I sat in the back of his truck to hold down the stuff. As we left, I saw a Rottweiler walking on its hind legs to the middle of our camp. It was easily 5 feet tall and had bright orange eyes. I freaked out and screamed as it was running at us, still standing up. It disappeared into a bush after we turned the corner. Later on at our camp, an old man with his face covered up by hair visited us and acted very strangely. We ran out of drinks, so a friend and I decided to head out on foot. We saw a car, and as it approached, it slowed down to a halt, and the same man asked if we wanted a ride. We said no because this time My friends had told me that the man was a skinwalker. He grabbed my arm and pulled me by his car and looked straight at me. As my friend ran up to grab me, the man took off in his car. Once we got back, I relaxed. It was around dawn when just behind me the man appeared about 10 feet away and asked if I could help him with something back at his camp. As he did, 2 trucks came around the corner. He watched them as they passed, and then all of a sudden he bolted after them. I was astonished, seeing this 60-year-old man chasing down a car. My native friends put up a salt barrier. I heard sounds all night, but never saw anything after that.